Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with Fan TV. Back at you another video. Like the content of this video, go and smash that like button. Like the content of this channel, go and subscribe, man. Look, Ravens in a week 2 matchup go against the Cleveland Browns, right? The Ravens are celebrating, 30 years of, being the Baltimore Ravens and whatnot. There's always been some controversy about Cleveland, saying that we're disrespectful for doing it, because they used to be, we used to be the Cleveland Browns franchise, whatever, this and that. So this game is going to have a little bit of tension in it. If it already wasn't going to have tension in it, because the way the Ravens lost week 1, the way the Browns lost week 1, then also you get right into the fact that it's an AFC North showdown, right? So it's a lot of things going on. Joe Flacco returned to Baltimore again. It's a lot of things happening in this game, right? So let's kick it off. We're talking about the injury report for both teams, right? So for the Ravens, injury report looks like Isaiah Likely and Pat Ricard are both out. But good news is Isaiah Likely has returned to practice. Okay, so he was limited as of yesterday. So that's good news, right? So my prediction was seeing Isaiah Likely week 3, week 4. I think it might be week 3. We'll see how he progresses going into this weekend, and then obviously when we get the reports back on this upcoming Wednesday and whatnot, we'll see how Isaiah Likely is coming back to the game, right? So I think the Ravens are being cautious with him, but we could see him play week 3, right? So that's good news. Pat Ricard, still kind of mumbling what's going on with him. They say it's a calf injury. That's really all we know, right? And he's just not practicing. All right. Now I will say that Zaire Mitchell Payton did a great job of filling in for Pat Ricard. I wouldn't be surprised to see him called up again to play that same kind of role, right? He did a really good job versus the Bills. Other people listed on the injury report, but they're going to play Jair Alexander. I think he's going to be an injury report every week, honestly, just because of the knee injury. But he's going to play. Rashad Bateman, personal. He practiced the 2 days before. He did not practice yesterday, so whatever's going on, hope he's all right. But look like he's going to play on Sunday. And Nnamdi Madubuike, ankle injury, full participant Friday, so he's good to go. All right. And now for the Cleveland Browns, only person I see out is Mike Hall Jr. But Joe Bitonio is going to play. DeJuan Jones is going to play. Denzel Ward is going to play. And Quinshon Judkins is questionable. The rookie that he went through some off-field troubles these last couple of months. They finally signed him. I don't know if they're going to rush him out there to the field. We'll see what happens with that. But he is questionable. He's been a full participant all week. We'll see if they decide to play him or not. Anyway. Then they drafted him in the second or third round this past offseason, right? So, all right, so that's the injury report. Last game for the Bengals, I talked about it. For the Browns, they lost to the Bengals 17-16. Last game for the Ravens, we know what happened, 41-40 to the Buffalo Bills, right? So two teams coming off a loss, two teams coming off of L's. They're going to want to redeem themselves for that. Now, Cleveland Browns' expectations for their season is obviously vastly different from what the Ravens have. Not saying Cleveland doesn't want to win, but they're in a different kind of position than the Ravens are. All right. Now I'll listen to the Ravens talk this week. There's a lot of talk about accountability, a lot of talk about maturity. I saw Marlon Humphreys call out the team for a lack of maturity. I heard Adafi always say things like, "We took our foot off the gas when we got up," which is a crazy statement because you're a team that has constantly let yourself down by taking your foot off the gas and you're still doing it. To me, that's a coaching problem, right? I'm going to revert it back to Harbaugh. It's a coaching problem, right? If you have your guys saying we lack maturity, we take our foot off the gas, that's an issue. That's a culture issue. You got to get that corrected, right? You got to get that right. I heard Marlon Humphrey via Zach Orr, right, saying that pretty much that, there's no free rides, right? We're not going to have, guys out there playing badly, playing poorly, and still continuing to play, right? That was a big issue last season, with Marcus Williams, Eddie Jackson, they got to play 8, 9, 10 weeks before Raiders said, okay, this enough is enough. We're making a change. All right. So it's not going to happen this year, apparently. We'll see what happens with that. But those are the words that are coming out right now from the Ravens, right? A lot of accountability, a lot of people owning up to it. It's lip service at this point in time. But I can only take them at their face value for it is what they mean, right? So we'll see what happens going into this game, all right? Now, as far as the Browns defense, usually when we go deep into the season, I'll give you numbers and about where these people rank, or where these teams rank out of 32 in the league and things like that. But we only had one game. I probably won't do it for the first 3 weeks, right? When we get into week 4, then I'll probably start doing that because it's too early in the year, right? Now that teams really don't play a preseason game with their starters. These first 3 weeks they all count, they all matter. but teams are really getting into their rhythm, right? Getting into their flow. So a lot of stuff is fake the first couple of weeks, if being honest with you. All right. But I will say this: what's very, very real for the Browns defense is Myles Garrett is still an animal. He's still a beast, right? I mean, there was a sequence where Myles Garrett literally hit Joe Burrow on 3 consecutive plays. Okay. And so as long as the Browns front has Myles Garrett on it, they're going to be a problem to deal with. All right. And then they still have some talented players in secondary, right? I just talked about Denzel Ward is going to be playing. So it's not like it's going to be a cakewalk, right? If the Browns can rely on anything, it's probably going to be the fact that they have a great D lineman up front who's going to who affects the entire game. You got to always know what Myles Garrett is. You always got to have people chipping them, double teaming them. So you're always going to have one-on-one matchups for somebody else. Can they take advantage, right? The Ravens got to look out for that. All right. Week 1, I thought the Ravens did a decent job in terms of pass protection, right? There's a couple plays that weren't great, right? Play where Lamar Jackson has to scramble back, 20 yards to get the first down. But when you have Lamar Jackson, he covers up a lot of flaws, especially on your offensive line, right? Now you don't want to rely on that, but the Ravens are at a point where they're going to play certain offensive linemen, even if they're not performing up to par. That's what the Ravens are right now. All right. Now. This Browns defense, like I said, I think it's going to be the calling card for this game. So the Ravens, they come out slow, they come out hesitant. This Browns defense can pounce on them, right? So they can't let that happen. Now, Browns offense, right? Browns offense is interesting because the last couple of years, they've kind of gone away from Kevin Stefanski's identity, right? They paid Deshaun Watson all of that money, right? All that money wasted down the toilet, down the drain. Now he's coming back from an Achilles injury. He's trying to play. I doubt that he'll play again for the Cleveland Browns. We'll see, though. He's trying to play. But point being is that this offseason, the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, really put an emphasis on going back to what he likes to do on offense, which is run the ball, wide zone, play action off of that, take your shots to your tight ends, your wide receivers in that intermediate part of the field, right? And versus the Bengals, they did that, right? Joe Flacco is really, really comfortable in that style of Stefanski offense. And he looked comfortable in week 1, right? The interceptions he threw really weren't his fault. I believe 2 of them were, they might have both been dropped by Jerry Jeudy, if I'm not mistaken. I know they were tip passes, right? But they might have both been Jerry Jeudy, okay? So he looked really comfortable, confident in that offense. So I think the Browns offense, they're going to establish the run, right? That's what they're going to do, right? Can the Ravens run defense really hold up? I mean, because really versus the Bills, the James Cook is a really good running back. I won't say the Bills have a potent run game, right? I would say the Browns are going to try to emphasize the run game far more than the Bills are going to try to emphasize the run game week 1. So that's going to be a different challenge for the Ravens, all right? And then, when it comes to the secondary, they have to step up, right? When the Ravens secondary, I would say that 80% of the Bills game, like the entire team, 80-90% of the Bills games, that secondary was decent. They were okay. That final, fourth quarter, 5 minutes where everything fell apart, the secondary really fell apart. So I'm going to need to see something from them. All right. And then obviously the pass rush, right? This is my thing. All right. I could talk about the Ravens secondary all day long. Right? I think the Ravens have a top tier secondary unit in the NFL. The main thing is if you are not getting a pass rush, it does not matter how good your corners are. All right. Your corners cannot cover for 4+ seconds. They just can't. No NFL corner can do it. All right. That's why having a pass rush is the most important thing you can have on defense. The Ravens still have not figured out or still have not found the guys to get home with 4 consistently. All right. So this game, I'm looking at Odafe Oweh, right? Calvin Noy, for the first time since Calvin Noy's been here, he looked his age last week versus the Bills, right? Now he's doing a lot of contained rushing because he didn't want to lose his pass rush lane versus Josh Allen. You don't have to worry about that with Joe Flacco, right? Joe Flacco is not escaping the pocket, okay? So I want to see I want to see Calvin Noy get after it. I want to see Odafe Oweh get after it, right? Mike Green had some really good pass rush snaps, last week in his first game. So did Fudd Peoples, right? He had some good pass rush snaps as well. The Ravens need to get after Joe Flacco, all right? Make this very, very uncomfortable for him dropping back in the pocket. That's the number one goal for this game. I need to see the pass rush dominate, okay? That's what I'm looking for, if I'm being quite honest. That's what I'm looking for, the pass rush to dominate this game, right? Because there's any game that they can do it is this one, all right? Just because of the quarterback, you're going against a team that you're better than. assert your dominance out there. Right? Not saying the Browns have a terrible O-line, because the Browns have some players on the O-line. Joe Bitonio, I think Jack Conklin's going to play as well. So like they have some players on the offensive line, right? But the Ravens got to assert they will at some point. All right. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking for when the Browns are on offense. Our pass rush, versus their run game, versus their play action game. Can our D lineman really cause havoc, right? Because I know that if the D lineman can do their thing, I know that Jair is going to make plays eventually. I know that Kyle Hamilton, who's all over the field versus the Bills, is going to continue to be all over the field and make plays. Marlon Humphrey in the slot, whatever. I know Chidobe Awuzie for like most of the game, really, really good. I know those guys can play. Can the pass rush hold up their end of the bargain up front? Can they rush Joe Flacco? Come on, that's what I'm asking for here. All right, and then when we get into the keys to the game, right? The keys to the game to me is no letdowns, right? You let yourself down, you let the Ravens down, you let the fans down, you let everybody down in that last 5 minutes of the game, week 1. Week 2, you have an opportunity to come out here, 30th anniversary of the Ravens, right? Playing the Cleveland Browns, playing the game that you should win. Can you come out from minute 1 and dominate? This is for both sides of the ball, right? You come out from minute 1 and dominate the game. No letdowns. That's the key to me this week. Can you come out and be a professional and say, hey, this is a team that we're better than. Let's go out there and dominate them, right? It's the NFL. Anything can happen, right? A lot of NFL games are close. You don't really go out there and just blow teams out, right? Because, these guys are all professionals, right? So, but at the end of the day, you are a better team. And I need to see the Ravens are a clear better team than the Cleveland Browns for 4 quarters. That's what I need to see out there. All right. So yeah, for me, that's my big key to the game. No letdowns, right? And then, X Factor, I don't even know if I have an X Factor for this game, but, the word the Ravens used a lot this week was maturity, right? That's the word I heard a lot was maturity. Okay. Can you be a mature team this game, right? If you jump out on a 14+ point lead on the Cleveland Browns, can you, one, on offense, still be aggressive, still try to continue to score, and not take your foot off the gas way too early, right? Not when it's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you're shutting it down, right? Can you continue to be aggressive? And on defense, same thing, right? Okay, we're up 14. We don't have to do too much. We can play soft coverage, prevent. Can you continue to attack the offense on defense, right? Now, Mike Macdonald's not here, is what it is, right? But that's one of the things I liked about Mike Macdonald, right? He knew the right certain times when to call plays, right? He knew when to be aggressive. He knew when to attack, right? And what didn't happen all year 1 from him, but by the end of year 1, you saw him finding that stride, right? Zach Orr kind of happened last year. He found that stride by the end of year 1. First game of the season, started off rocky. Quarters 2 through 4 before we got to that final 5 minutes of the game, it looked good. Like he was finding his stride, all right? And then the collapse happened. Can Zach Orr bounce back, find his stride, find the right balance between aggressiveness and conservativeness, in this on his defense, and suffocate the Browns for 4 quarters consecutively? Can he do that? Because that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm not looking for listen, I want the Ravens to win this game, obviously, right? That's I'm a fan of the team, right? That's what I want to see. But more so, I do want to see the Ravens dominate this game. I don't want to. I listen. If the Ravens get a W, they get a W. That's what I want to see. I would love to see them dominate this game because this is a team that you're better than. Let's not play down to the level of competition, which has been an issue in the past. Let's dominate the game, get out of here with a W, everybody celebrate. That right there could show me that, okay, you're taking some steps in this quote unquote maturity that you guys have been talking about this entire week, following the collapse versus the Buffalo Bills. All right. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the game, man. That's the Ravens versus Browns preview. Can the Ravens do their part? Can they be, mature, as they keep saying, right? Can they have no letdowns? Can this Ravens pass rush show up and get sacks, right? They had 1 sack versus Josh Allen in 4 quarters. Joe Flacco is not Josh Allen in a myriad of ways, all right? Can you get more than 1 sack versus Joe Flacco? Let's see what happens, all right? But that's my thoughts on it. That's my keys to the game. Obviously, leave, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, man. But it's Gabriel, which is on the Fan TV. I'm out.